Evolution is the concept by which various species change over time. In the typical sense, evolution is something that is constantly happening, and through many generations, slight changes to the physiology of species will occur. When we refer to evolution in most monster taming games, we're actually referring to a type of metamorphosis by which the same species transforms drastically when certain conditions are met. Now, that being said, we have covered evolution as it pertains to several other games in the genre, whether it be Monster Crown, Temtem, or Kindred Fates. However, Monster Sanctuary, much like the formerly mentioned, sets itself apart by bringing its own unique twist to the table. As of such, this video will be exploring Monster Sanctuary's evolution mechanic from both a gameplay and lore perspective to give a greater insight as to how exactly the system works and whether or not it'll be something you'll want to take advantage of during your playthrough. Now, with that being said, sit back, relax, and let's dive right in. Okay, so in most monster taming games, evolution is acquired through either leveling up or some sort of similar means. Generally speaking, you'll have the base form of a monster being quite weak, whilst the subsequent evolutions are progressive upgrades to the previous build. For example, look at Froakie from Pokemon. Its stats revolve around a very high speed and respectable special attack stat. As it evolves, the stats follow the same trend, however each stage above it basically adds to it. Greninja is built the same way as Froakie in terms of stats, and is basically just a stronger version of him following the same trend. Monster Sanctuary's evolution doesn't follow this rule and instead offers the idea that evolution is simply another stage of that monster, not necessarily better, but different. Within the lore of the game, evolution is actually something that takes a long time and eventually does occur via metamorphosis like mentioned previously. This process can, however, be sped up through the Tree of Evolution, a large magical being stowed away deep within the ancient woods. This tree has the ability to speed up the evolution process, however, it does require a catalyst, a unique set of items that specifically cause this change in certain monsters. For example, the Sunstone evolves the Crackle Knight into the Sizzle Knight, the Stardust evolves Grummy into Grulu, and the Giant Seed evolves Rocky into Mega Rock. Not a whole lot is known about catalysts other than that they tend to exist within the environment of the affected monster. There are a couple of NPCs situated at the base of the tree that also give us interesting information regarding how it works and why it's there. The female keeper of the tree explains that evolution will cause a monster to lose certain abilities, and while in many cases an evolved form could be stronger, it could also have its own shortcomings as a result, and it's important to be mindful of this fact before going through the process. Let's look at Grummy and its evolution, for example. Now, immediately by comparing these two skill trees, you'll notice some differences. While the first two branches remain relatively untouched, the third branch of each are widely different. As opposed to utilizing Grummy's poisonous abilities, Grulu instead focuses on the Solar Ray and Solar Burst abilities, both of which are fire attacks as opposed to the previously mentioned Earth-type poison attacks. If you've evolved your Grummy and your team's strategy is dependent on those poison abilities, then now you've actually put yourself in a situation where you'll have to rethink your strategy or go find another poison user. A quick look at their base stats will show that yes, for the most part, Grulu does have a better spread. However, it does lose quite a bit of mana in exchange. Once again, this may be a bad thing depending on how your team is set up. The Keeper even warns you of this very fact, so remember that evolution is something that you genuinely have to think about before committing to, because it can completely change the way you fight. Now, on a quick side note, the shifting, whether it be light or dark, do stick after evolution, so at the very least that won't change. Now, if you're like me and look into games a little too much, you might be wondering, where the heck did this tree even come from, and why does it even evolve your monsters in the first place? Now, the simple answer is that the devs needed a reason to justify the process, but that's no fun. So luckily we have another keeper of the tree who explains the tree's origin to us, and it's pretty interesting. We learn that much like the rest of the Sanctuary's history, the War of the Old Kings had a major part in the tree's existence. It was at this point a spell was cast in the very spot where the tree stands, which created the Sanctuary itself. The area in which the tree is situated, aka the Ancient Woods, is the only location of the Monster Sanctuary that was actually part of the old world. Everything else has been created through magical means. Now, by this, the tree in and of itself represents change both for humans and monsters. The tree acts as both the birthplace by which ordinary humans would eventually evolve, in a sense, to become monster keepers, and where the monsters themselves would evolve beyond their previous capabilities. In both cases, an irreversible change was made. For humans, the birth of the tree and subsequently the monster sanctuary was a turning point in which life would never be the same, as are the changes made when evolving from one monster to the next. Something is lost, yet something is gained. The topic of evolution as it pertains to these games has always been something very interesting to me, especially the way a lot of these monster taming games have been spinning the mechanic to work within their own worlds. Monster Sanctuary's evolution system is something that is quite simple yet fascinating given its implications to the game's story. I'd like to see more games incorporate their mechanics into the actual story rather than just being game mechanics for the sake of them being mechanics. This is something I've always respected about the Dark Souls franchise. Everything from respawning from death to how healing items work have legitimate lore connotations, and it creates a level of immersion that is unrivaled with some of the best RPGs out there. So with that being said, I hope you guys did enjoy this short overview of the evolution system within Monster Sanctuary. I'd love to dissect the game's lore in a more spoiler-heavy way in the future when more people have had a chance to beat it, so let me know if there's any other topics you'd like me to cover as well, and if you'd like me to go in depth on more topics I have already covered. So yeah, if you guys did enjoy the video, please make sure to like and subscribe as it really helps out my channel. You can also check out my Discord and Patreon, all links in the description. Until next time, peace.